Most women are overly dramatic. They know how to lie to you. They know how to be deceptive. They know how to change the narrative to be the victim. And we are so good at it, which is why you have to use what I call the minimize, maximize rule. Let me explain. If you use this rule, I promise you that you will be able to decipher and understand what actually happened when a woman is telling you a story. Because we are so good at convincing you guys that we are the victim. And sometimes we're not the victim. We're just so used to getting our way and gaining sympathy and getting what we want if we are the victim in most situations. And just a side note, you can absolutely validate a woman's experience. You don't have to invalidate her, but you can dial it back and know that she's being overly dramatic about situations to gain more sympathy. All of the dramatic parts of a story that a woman is telling you, you need to minimize that by 3. What do I mean? When she says he's verbally abusive, does she just mean that he's being an asshole? When she tells you that she was emotionally abused, does that mean that he didn't fall for her over-dramatic presentation and her fake tears? Even though she ignored his physical needs throughout the entire relationship, and that's the part that she's not going to tell you. When she says he was narcissistic, it means that she couldn't control him, she couldn't control the narrative, and she couldn't get him to listen to her. When she tells you that her ex was financially abusive, sometimes you got to ask yourself, was he trying to control her spending because she has poor spending habits and she overspent? Again, over-dramatizing every situation to gain sympathy and play the victim. We are so good at convincing other people that we could do no wrong and that we're the victim, which is why all of the stories you need to minimize by 3. She'll tell you that her ex didn't give her enough of attention, but the parts that she leaves out is she didn't feel like he gave enough attention because she was getting attention from guys in her DMs. She'll say that she was unhappy the entire relationship, but she'll leave out the parts where she was comparing herself to other people on the internet or comparing herself to her newly divorced friends or even friends that are happily married. And ask her how many of her friends are newly divorced, because who has gotten in her ear to convince her to break up her last relationship or her marriage in the first place. She'll say her ex was controlling, but maybe he refused to put up with her disrespect. She'll say he always raised his voice, but maybe he was just trying to reiterate a boundary and an expectation that she wasn't listening to or hearing because she always wanted to challenge his expectations. She'll say that her ex was rude, mean, and selfish, but she'll leave out the parts where she was condescending, belittling, and passive-aggressive, which is why all of the drama that she tells you, you need to minimize it by 3. The only exception to any of this is when you have to maximize this rule by 3. So, for example, if she says that she has high standards, just know that if you're ugly or just basic average, you need to multiply those standards by 3. But if you're an attractive guy, you need to minimize those standards by 3. Because standards get minimized if she finds you more attractive. When she tells you that she's in debt, this is another example of where you're going to maximize the expectation, and you're not going to maximize it by 3, you maximize it by 5. Unless she shows you proof otherwise. And the same rule applies for her body count. If she tells you a number, multiply that by 3. So you should always be using the maximize, minimize tool in situations for women, because we are overly dramatic and we make up these narratives and these stories in our head to convince ourselves that we are the victim, and it works every single time. And 9 times out of 10, you will believe these women because we are so good at deception. Okay, bye.